All right, Parashat Vayigash. Parashat Vayigash, we always talk about leadership and all that stuff. But today I want to concentrate on a different concept from the parasha. That's basically, it's all about meetings and interaction with people. So let's look at this a little different. And of course, we have to see if it has any kind of application, if it's applicable to our lives, to our day-to-day lives. So last parasha ends up a moment before the brothers leave Egypt, and the whole ordeal with the arrest and the accusation that they were accused by stealing the silver goblet, and as a result of that they were arraigned, and they found it within the belongings of Binyamin. And we all know it's the little baby that Yaakov had from Rachel, and so this is where it ends. Our parasha starts with the words Vayigash elav Yehuda. Vayigash elav Yehuda, and Yehuda, we'll see what it is, really approached him. Yehuda, which really guaranteed to his father the security and the well-being, and of course the safe return of Binyamin. Of course the question is, we could ask many questions, but one question that it's quite obvious is that Torah uses the words Vayigash elav Yehuda. Vayigash. Why not Vayikrav and come closer? Or Vayifne, and he spoke, or anything like this. It wasn't Vayigash. There's something here that doesn't make so much sense. So therefore we need to really see if we could learn anything from that. And let me tell you guys, the more I looked into this week's parasha, the more I said, wow, this is so really on the nose for what we are going through nowadays today, inside of us. So there's a remez, for example. Of course, there's always remez. The numerical value, there's great children here with bourbon inside. The numerical value of Vayigash is 319. 319, which is the same gematria, the same numerical value as Ach Yakar, dear brother. Which is also the same numerical value of Hatzileni na miyad achi, save me from the hand of my brother. Which is also the same numerical value as Derech HaMelech, the path of the king. And we all have to understand, Derech HaMelech means you have to go straight. Derech HaMelech is something you have to go straight. There is a remez in that. However, it's also the same numerical value of V'yeh Hashem Elokeinu Imanu. So all this is kind of hinted within the words of Vayigash. The Torah knows exactly what it's doing. The Zohar explains to us that the root of the word Vayigash is Nagash. Nun, Gimel, Shin. Negishut means to be available, and also represents the word Hitnakshut, which means collision. So it comes to indicators, according to the Zohar, that there's going to be here a great collision of mindsets, of worlds, of worldviews. One is Yehuda, that his offspring, of course, is King David HaMelech, which really represents the Sfera of Malchut. The Sfera of Malchut, which is really representative of our world, that the whole purpose is really fulfilling of our physical urges and needs, our wills, our wishes, mainly of our body. And Yosef really represents the Sfera of Idan Yesod. Idan knows everything. Midat of Yesod, that really collects all the heavenly abundance, all the Shefa Eloki, and really transfers it. It's like, if you look at the Esosphera, it's like a funnel. It goes all the way down, from Keter, all the way down to the tip of the panel of the funnel, which is Yesod. That brings it down to the Sfera of Malchut. By the way, this shiur is dedicated to Refuah Shlema of Mazal Bat Leah, Chaim Yisrael Levi Ben Batya, and also to my great dear grandson, Yosef Lev Ben Clara Rachel. Elui Nishmat?
Shlomo HaKohen Ben Frida.
Shlomo HaKohen Ben Frida.
Osnat Bat Chivtzi.
Osnat Bat Chivtzi. And the Malchut is really the one who determines how much Shefa is going to enter your life. In other words, as somebody told me before, he said, many people usually, how did they say it? How did he tell me? He said to me something like this: the biggest obstacle in success in your life will be you. You are the biggest obstacle in your success. You are the one who determines if you're going to be successful or not successful. You tend to blame other people, you tend to blame the color of your clothes, you tend to blame everybody, but you're never going to blame yourself. Blame yourself. It's all about you. You are the one who determines if you're going to be successful in your life or not. You're going to be the one who's going to determine whether you're going to have a wife or you're never going to have married at all. You are the one. You are the one who determines it. You have the ability to change. You have the ability to do all these things. It's you. Don't blame anybody else. Right, Yonatan? Remember who said it?
You. Edgar Allan Poe.
You. Yonatan told me that before. And I thought it was a great point, so I'm using it today. So really the Malchut really determines how much Shefa is going to come to our life. And nobody but ourselves could determine how much light is going to enter your life. You are the one who will determine how much light enters your life. You're the one. Whether you like to hear it or not, well, that's up to you. Why? Because when it comes to spirituality, there's no oppression in spirituality. Again, you did it. Again. And the collision in which we are having here is really between two different urges. The urge to connect to the spiritual, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And on the other side, you have the need of the urge of the body to survive. In other words, me only, and I don't care about anybody else. You should know that when you feel spiritually stuck in your life, you feel stuck, you feel like on a life support, spiritual life support, that really means that you are involved in fulfilling your physical urges above all. Again, as I said to you before, it's you. So don't blame anybody else. So if you feel that you're praying and you're not connecting, if you feel this, you feel that, it's basically you. You are too involved with your own physical needs. You're too involved with your own self. And basically what happens for that, Kabbalistically, when you do that, you are in disconnect from the Sfera of Yesod. And you therefore disconnect from the Shefa, from the abundance, which the only way to really reconnect with it again is to create a certain, what we call miracle, nes, in your life. Now, if you look at the word nes, the remez for nes is lanus, is to run to. Also, the word nes represents a flag. Okay? So, when you need to run away or put some daylight, right, it's basically run between your nature and your urges, your own whatever you brought from mommy's home or daddy's home. In other words, you need to run away or break away from the way you usually operate throughout your lives. You have to run away and stay away from feeling that you are the scapegoat, feeling that you are being labeled, that you are being targeted. You have stop feeling yourself like you are the sacrifice. You are not the Paschal lamb, let's put it this way. And most people like to feel, poor me, oh me, oh me, and so on and so forth. You need to stay away from anger and fear in your life and really elevate yourself to a higher level. To elevate yourself above nature and to find a different way that it's going to be to bring about a change in your life. In other words, you need to bring up the flag. You need to be a flag waver, to wave the flag of life. And that is to start living and living a responsible life. That is the example that we take from Yehuda. Yehuda assumed responsibility. He goes to Yosef, says to him, hey, mister, you want to talk? Be Adoni. Talk to me. Talk to me. I'll take everything. I'm the one who did it. Talk it all on me. And that's what Yehuda did. Yehuda did not think about, hey, you know what, let somebody else. Oh, you want to take Binyamin? Take Binyamin. Shalom alecha nafsha. I'll worry about myself. No. Yehuda knows. He says, you know what, take me, let them go free. Willing to sacrifice himself. Selfish people cannot be spiritual people. And usually selfish people are very bitter people. And absolutely not responsible. Guys, take it into account what I'm telling you. And that's exactly what Yehuda says, and he's standing in front of Yosef and is willing to sacrifice himself to really elevate himself above the instinct of survival. His survival, he puts away for the better being of the people around him. What I can do for my people, for my society. What he's willing to put his freedom, or maybe even his life, for the sake of his father, for the sake of his brothers, for the sake of his brother Binyamin also. Yehuda really speaks from the bottom of his heart, from real concern, from a genuine feeling of responsibility and caring. That's what Yehuda is talking about. When he is in a state of this complete emunah, that this is the way, this is how I'm going to be, I'm going to throw myself out there, therefore he's able to bring that message forward. When people who are not like Yehuda, they would try to make everybody miserable to the point of becoming really aggressive, to the point that they're going to harass people. And these are people that you should stay away from. You should look for who is willing to take responsibility for his actions. That's a person you should seek closeness to, not a person who puts the blame on everybody else. Now, whoever that will be. Now, the Zohar teaches us that this is the secret of Emunah. The secret of Emunah will come through the connection between those upper worlds, the spiritual worlds, with the physical world. And then, until that point, when that actually happens, over there, velo yochol Yosef liitapek lechol hanitzvim alav. At that moment, Yosef could not hold itself up, and therefore he needs to let go of all the abundance that was holding up before, because before the brothers were selfish. Lo yochol liitapek, he couldn't hold himself. He was holding that. He was the Sfirat Yesod. He let it go. At that moment. And then you bring about the nest. Then the miracle comes, and then the Sfirat Yesod, when it releases that, all those wonderful things happen to you. Miracles happen to you that you would say, oh my goodness, if you just think about it, oh my goodness, this is like amazing. How does this happen to me? And all of a sudden, all those obstacles that you had in your life, whether you couldn't get Parnasa, or you couldn't get wife, or you couldn't get this, all of a sudden it all opens up like a flood. But you can't do that when you're a person who is selfish, who is deceiving, basically a lowlife. Now stay away from people like that. And a similar idea you could actually also find in the other interactions, the other meeting that we had between Yaakov and Paro. Again, it's like very weird what's going on there. The Pasuk tells us the following. Vayave Yosef et Yaakov aviv, and Yosef brought, which is kind of weird to say, hey, the daddy. Bueno. Vayamideu lifnei Paro, here, stand here in front of Paro. And then, pay attention. Vayevarech Yaakov et Paro, and Yaakov blesses Paro. Vayomer Paro el Yaakov, kama yemei shnei chayecha. How old are you? ויאמר יעקב אל פרעה, ימי שני מגורי, 30 ומעט שנה, then very weird, מעט ורעים. I'm 130 years old, and my life was short, okay, and bad. היו ימי שני חיי ולא השיגו ימי שני חיי חיי אבותיי בימי ממגוריהם. And I was not able to reach the days of my forefathers in my own lifetime. Then, all of a sudden, again, ויברך יעקב את פרעה ויצא לפני פרעה. Wait, 1 second, you already blessed him. Why are you blessing him again? מה העניין פה? So the few questions to ask. Question number 1. Why does Paro really care how old is Yaakov? I mean, you're not the answer. Listen, how are you? Can you? But how old are you? Yeah, it's very bizarre. Second question is why Yaakov answering such an answer, which really seems like a very pessimistic, negative answer. And he doesn't say, say simple, I'm 130 years old. Just say 130 years old. Another question is, why is Yaakov telling about his father and his grandfather? Why does he need to compare himself to others? What's the inyan here? The fourth question is, why is Yaakov feeling that his life was short and bad? You want to tell me Avraham and Yitzchak had easy life? Avraham and Yitzchak had horrible life, difficult life. And then, of course, if Yaakov feels that his life was so bad, what do you need to tell Paro about your life? But you want your Paro to say, come to that. It's you, yes, I see your life. But Yaakov is not a complainer. Yaakov is not like one of those guys who always complain. He's not this kind of guy. But why is he doing what he's doing? Why it's so relevant to Paro to hear that your life was difficult or not? Say, I'm 130 years old. Goodbye, good luck. And why does Yaakov give a blessing to Paro twice? Once before the question and once after the question. I mean, I'm sure you all thought about the same questions, right? I hope. So we could explain this, based on what we said previously, we could explain it, that when Yaakov meets Paro, he first of all gives him a certain blessing of life that is purposeful and meaningful. One of the biggest problems of our generation and the generations of some of your younger ones, that you're heading yourself into a life that has no purpose and has no meaning. Now you better do something about it. But when he hears the question of Paro, the Paro asks him, how old are you? He understood from that what really is important to Paro. What is important to Paro is life in this world, because by the Egyptians, a person was measured if he's a success story or not based on what he did in this world, not what he's going to do for the next world, in this world. And maybe that's one of the reasons that after the person died, they really mummify the person to really, should I say it, immortalize them as how they were in this world. Not have to do anything with the world. This is because that's what's important. In other words, according to the Egyptians, life starts and ends with this world only. So as an answer for that, Yaakov answers to Paro. Yaakov lives in a totally different world. In Yaakov's eyes, this world it goes by very fast. It's just like something temporary. It's a passage between dimensions. This world is, and we say, fix your life like in the corridor. This life is like a corridor, and in a corridor, if you have a corridor in your house, hey guys, you're not going to put a sofa and an armchair or your bed in a corridor. You're going to put it in different places. This life is a corridor. So don't get so hung up about how good or whatever you're doing in this world. So therefore he says to him, in his answer, he says, I'm in this world, here, in this world I'm 130 years old. But really what is important in this world to ask is when my actions will reach the quality of the actions of my forefathers. Because it doesn't make a difference how long you live if they are not meaningful and purposeful, there is no meaning to your life, so therefore your life counts for nothing. Only life with a meaning and a purpose are considered to be life. And this is what Yaakov is trying to give this message to Paro, that his desire is to reach the level of his fathers, of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, even though that it looks to you, Paro, that I made it, that I have a lot of cattle, I have 70 descendants. Paro, you didn't look like you had a lot of guys, a lot of children. I have 70 descendants. I have a lot of cattle that I'm coming back from Eretz Israel. It looks to you like I made it, but I know what really counts. And this is not how much dinero, how much moolah I made in this world. It's how much I lived life in terms of a purpose and a meaning. And of course, Rabotai, life or purpose and meaning will start first of all with you assuming responsibility for your life. Don't think that your happiness is dependent on somebody else's action. Your happiness depends on what you decide to do with your life. So if you're not happy with your life, don't blame anybody else. Go get yourself a good mirror and start talking to the person who looks at you in the mirror. It will be you. So if you're going to look at this, in other words, I didn't accomplish much, because I know that I can reach a much higher level, spiritual level, than I am right now, because I haven't reached the level yet of my fathers, of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And that's something for us to remember. We all think we are the best, and we forget who were the people that became the ladder for us to climb on. We think that we reach where we reach only by ourselves. We forget that there were people there, whether they're your parents or your Rabbeim or whoever it is, that basically laid on the fence for you to succeed. Now, one thing for sure is don't spit on them. It's enough that you step on them, but don't spit on them. And take this to heart. So after Paro understands this message of what really is important about life, now Yaakov can really give him a blessing of life, of purpose, of meaningless, of meaningful, of meaning, of purpose, of kedusha, life of purity. That is considered to be life. Going back to Yehuda, so there's Vayigash elav Yehuda vayomar. So before Yehuda says again his words, first of all, he approached him. Now there's a beautiful Sfat Emet on that in our parasha that really paid close attention to the words in which the Torah used to describe to us what happened before Yehuda started talking. According to the Sfat Emet, the difference that occurred, or the change that occurred by Yehuda, is not with his words or with his claims. And he writes the following: Vayigash elav Yehuda, and Yehuda approached him, Pirush leYosef, gam el atzmotav piresh leatzmo, gam piresh elav. In other words, the same thing as HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Bo el Paro, Bo el atzmotav, come to the essence of Paro. Same thing here, Yehuda comes to the essence of Yosef. He's trying to do something that we all lack on doing. It says that we need to reach, first of all, you need to reach to yourself, to be whole with yourself, before you're going to talk to somebody else, before you're going to blame somebody else, before you're going to interact with somebody else. You need to make sure that you're whole about yourself. Make sure that your actions are whole before you point fingers at other people. Make sure that you're okay. That's to Yosef. Vayigash elav. Mize elav, to himself. El atzmo. And it says, when you reach yourself in order to do a clean and thorough check, an inventory of really who you are, and it has to be really, real honest thing. Do you really, for example, do you really believe in what you're saying? Do you really identify what you're saying or what you're about to say to the other person? Or is it just something that you picked up in some book or some TV show or some, whatever it is? Do you really believe in what you're saying? And after you really became very careful about those things to yourself, only then you can try to maybe reach out and make the change by somebody else. And it says, Vayigash elav, another way, Vayigash elav el Yosef. He reached Yosef. Yehuda understands that the words that he's going to say, the claiming that he's going to say, are not going to be enough just to what he says, to persuade yourself. You need to come to yourself to try to penetrate to his world, the world of the other, to understand his point of view. In other words, you need to understand what is the starting point in which the partner or the person that is in front of you is bringing to the table. You need to understand what they bring into the table. You need to understand where they're coming from. Otherwise, you're going to say what you want to say. He's going to say what he wants to say, and there's nothing to talk about. Now, that's true when you talk about partners at work, when you talk about husband and wife, when you talk about to anyone. Put yourself in the shoes of the other person. Before you come to judge, before you become the judge, the jury, and the executioner, put yourself in the place of the other person. First of all, are your actions 100% clean? Are you whole with yourself? Did you act without any doubt whatsoever? After you said, yes, I did, can you put yourself in the other person's shoes before you judge him? Can you put yourself in the other person's shoes? And we don't do it. And it says, Vayigash elav. Another Vayigash elav, the Sfat Emet says, Yirish HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the last stage. One of the processes, after all these processes, the person goes, self-examination, understanding of the other. After you do this internal selection, and so on and so forth, finding also the proper time and the proper words to use. People just spew words and don't understand what they're saying. You need to see if that's the right time to talk to a person. In other words, you don't judge, you don't talk to a person when he's angry. You just leave him alone. You need to find the right time. If you have a fight with your wife, well, by the way, that's something which is very interesting. And that's what the Torah says. The Torah tells us, Chazal tells us, Divrei Chachamim benachat nishmaim. מה זה בנחת? Calm. If you want to get your point through, talk in low frequency. When you talk in low frequency, it actually penetrates deeper. So when you yell at the other person and he's yelling back at you, you don't hear it. They're just two people yelling. I mean, like idiots. Or let's say you have a fight with someone. Say, listen, I see you're very upset. Just relax. Don't yell at him. Relax. When you relax, talk to me. We'll talk. But no, I see you upset. Because you're going to yell, I'm going to yell, I'm going to yell. Then the end, I'm going to hate each other. We're going to hate each other. The same thing goes with husband and wife. One is yelling, lower your voice. Lower your voice. I say, listen, I see you upset. Try to see, first of all, where they're coming from. Maybe they have a point. We always persuade ourselves that we are right. But we never see the point of somebody else. So, lower your voice. Lower the frequency. One of the best ways for you, if you want to go to sleep, is to put low frequency music. Because it calms you down. It relaxes you. You want something to penetrate into you? Low. Don't yell. Don't scream. Don't throw fit. And that's good for little kids. Now, and we need to understand that, and you need to be aware that the human dialogue is not a simple task. It's a very challenging aspect to deal with. Human dialogue, because we are all each have our own world and our own feelings and our own experiences and so on and so forth. But we need to see what we could bring to the table to solve problems, how to create problems. There are certain people that always like to create problems. These are problem creators. These are probably the most miserable people in the world. If there is a problem, solve it. To create problems, every idiot can. To solve problems, that already takes a person. Let's come down, let's relax. That takes a real leader. That takes a real person. That is one of the definitions of a Ben Torah. Darkea darkei noam, v'chol netivotei shalom. You need to listen to what the other person is saying. We're living in a society, in a time, right? And before you do that, you need to pray to Hashem to help you. And that's why it says Vayigash el Hashem. We live in a time that really human society, human culture really allows us to speak and to have different values and so on and so forth and so on. However, regardless of that, it doesn't come to an expression in increasing the dialogue or the deep dialogue and the mutual listening and understanding of the other. It doesn't. We are allowed to have our opinions, but for whatever reason, those opinions became something that puts us apart, not helps us become better. As a society of what we call observant Jews, Anshe Emunah, us, we believe, we do Torah mitzvot. Our society has a tremendous challenges that we are facing. And I think, though, that the biggest challenge that we as observant Jews are obligated is bring about the internal dialogue between each other to its appropriate place and to have a conversation that is clear and serious with willingness to give a thorough understanding and ear to the other side. Look at what happens in Israel as a society. You have, let's say, for example, leave the left, leave the right. I'm talking about now secular and religious Jews. Because the whole thing about the court thing that Bibi wanted to do ended up to be, at the end, religious Jews against non-religious Jews. So the religious Jew says, listen, I'm taking upon myself the burden of 3,000 years of history. I'm sitting down in Bet Midrash and I'm learning. The other guy is saying, the secular Jew is saying, listen, my sons, my daughters, myself are putting ourselves in danger to get killed in the army. Where's your contribution to our society? What makes me very upset today, I saw a survey that was done by a religious body based on the war that right now is going on in Israel. 70% of the Haredi people said that they should do more to contribute to society, including joining the IDF. However, the problem is the people who are sitting at the top are completely disconnected from what the people are saying. And the question is, of course, why? Therefore, the responsibility lays on you and me and all of us to increase that, to understand where the other person is coming from. That's why congregations fall apart. That's why communities fall apart. That's why nations fall apart. That's why families fall apart. And that's why you fall apart. We need, and this is a tremendous obligation, we need to understand where the other person is coming. We need to make sure that we are doing the right thing. We need to come to the table willing to listen, willing to solve the problem. This is all, by the way, what you learn from this week's parasha. It's all about human interaction, how to appropriately interact with people. What is really important? What are we doing here? Not just to come in and yell and bark and throw the table and think, oh, I think I'm good. But to be really responsible and saying, listen, there is a problem, let's solve the problem. And we don't do it. We were giving an opportunity to express our views, but we are using it to divide instead of bringing people together. And this is really the purpose of our creation. Liot borim, to create ourselves, to create miracles, to create better societies, to turn darkness into light, to turn bitter into sweet, to go against the flow, to go against your natural urges of selfishness, to really a waking up and wake about a change in our lives, a change in the people around us for the better, not for the worse. And to do so basically in a different way, which is not usual, in a kind of an altruistic way that really by naturally is all about itnakshut, collisions, about difficulties. We need to come out of the comfort zone, or I just want what's good for me. I need to, as they say, life is all about undoing your belt and looking for trouble. In other words, we don't look for trouble to create problems. We look for those difficulties because we want to solve them. Imagine you have a knot in the muscle on your back. You need to touch this point and work it out through a lot of pain until it releases. That's what we have. We are full of knots in our body. Our muscles are tight. And we need to work through the pain to really release it so we could be more free. We could be pain-free. Only that is going to put us out of what we call the hell of day-to-day life, of day-to-day, the mundane life that we are going through. What we're going through, most of us, is not life, it's hell. To live life without purpose, to live life that you're always angry, that you are the angry person that always has to have some kind of a villain in his life. That's hell, that's not life. That's, as they say, the work of the devil, not the work of God. It's all about destroying, creating fire, not creating passion, not creating compassion. That's why life on earth is really the meaning of that, as they say, Valhalla in this world, is really having life of purpose, of compassion, of problem solving. There are always going to be problems, but our job is to solve it. Hopefully, we should be able to go in that path and really utilize our life to its full and most wonderful potential. And if not, well, we will have to do it in ways that is out of our control. This is out of control. This is within our control. And therefore, we should be the ones who solve problems, not the ones who create problems. We should be the ones who look to fulfill our life with meaning, not with hatred, not with anger. Ki kol hakoes ki'ilu avad avodah zarah. That's what the Rambam says. You can wear a big kippah on your head like a soup bowl, but if you're an angry person, you're an idol worshiper. Shabbat shalom.